Hello, Hammers. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Stay tuned so you're always up to date with the biggest Hammers stories. It's remarkable how West Ham always seem trapped in the same cycle. They change managers, promise reactions, talk about fresh starts, and then another defeat drags them right back into chaos. This time it's NUNO ESPÍRITO SANTO'S who's trying to turn the tide after Graham Potter was dismissed at the end of September. 4 games, just 1 point, and a team that looks completely out of sync. The latest blow came with a 2-0 home defeat to Brentford, a night when the team simply failed to compete. The London stadium turned into a stage of frustration with fans protesting in the stands, and the Portuguese manager searching for answers for a side that looked lifeless and lost. Nuno was brutally honest after the match. "It was a difficult evening for us," he admitted, adding that nobody would sleep that night. And rightly so. It wasn't good enough, he said. Every player must be stronger in duels and fight harder. His words were firm and realistic, but they also exposed the depth of the problem. West Ham aren't just losing, they're playing poorly, lacking energy, confidence, and identity. And that's not something words alone can fix. The next test is already looming, away to Leeds this Friday, and the coach barely has time to breathe. It's one of those moments in football where results are demanded instantly, even if there's no time to prepare. What's interesting is how much doubt there already is about Nuno's fit at West Ham. In football debates across England, pundits are questioning whether he's the right man for this particular mess. "I like Nuno, but I just don't think West Ham is the right place for him," one said. And it's easy to understand why. At Nottingham Forest, he built a team that played with intensity, solid defending, and quick transitions. But in London, everything feels off. The backline has been error-prone all season, the midfield looks tired, and the forwards rarely threaten. Players like Hudson-Odoi and Elanga thrived at Forest in counter-attacking roles, but in claret and blue they look paralyzed, trapped in a system that doesn't suit them. The profile of this squad doesn't help either. There's a lack of energy in midfield, a lack of focus in defense, and zero rhythm in attack. West Ham can't press properly, but can't sit deep effectively either. A dangerous in-between that leaves every opponent comfortable. Brentford showed it with authority: 22 shots, 10 corners, and 5 big chances created. Igor Thiago opened the scoring just before halftime, and Matthias Jensen sealed it deep into stoppage time as the remaining supporters headed for the exits. It was the kind of defeat that hurts, not just because of the scoreline, but because of what it says about the team's mentality. And things off the pitch are just as messy. Since the end of David Moyes' era, West Ham have been stuck in an endless identity crisis. They won the Conference League and still decided to change everything. Moyes left, Julen Lopetegui came in, then Graham Potter, and now Nuno. Each shift felt like a reaction to the last, not a long-term plan. The club can't decide whether it wants to play beautiful football, focus on results, or develop young players. Those constant U-turns have confused the squad and exhausted the fans. Many believe appointing Nuno was another panic move, an attempt to spark a reaction rather than a clear project. One pundit summed it up perfectly. "Maybe Nuno rushed to get back into the Premier League. His work at Forest raised his profile, but choosing West Ham, a club that's been underachieving for years, feels more like desperation than ambition." It's hard to argue with that. If he wanted a calm environment to rebuild, this wasn't it, but it's easy to see the temptation. Big club, passionate fans, top facilities, and a huge desire for redemption. That mix of size and desperation can be both seductive and dangerous. The Premier League, however, offers no mercy. This season, the safety net that used to exist has vanished. In previous campaigns, the newly promoted sides were almost guaranteed to struggle, giving teams like West Ham a margin for error. Not this time. The promoted clubs are competing fiercely, and the bottom of the table is a mess. West Ham, Aston Villa, and Wolverhampton Wanderers all find themselves in the relegation fight without that usual cushion. That pressure is forcing clubs to make quicker and riskier decisions. It's football's version of survival mode. In truth, West Ham look caught between the pride of their recent European triumph and the fear of relegation. A club that lived a magical night in the Conference League final now looks incapable of finding itself. Nuno keeps talking about strength, unity, and character, but the feeling is that they need more than motivation. They need clarity. Friday's trip to Leeds will test every nerve in the club. Lose again and the atmosphere could become unbearable before October even ends. West Ham. Before we carry on, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. This is really important because it strengthens the claret and blue family, making our West Ham bigger and stronger every day. There are phrases that on their own say everything. When NUNO ESPÍRITO SANTO'S looked into the camera and said, "It was a difficult evening for us," you could feel the weight in his voice. It wasn't just an admission of a poor performance, it was almost a confession. A manager who has only just arrived, still learning the club from the inside, already realizing the scale of the problem he's inherited. The West Ham he has found isn't merely a team in poor form, it's a group emotionally drained, tactically lost, and burdened by years of searching for an identity. His expression after the Brentford defeat told the story of a man who understands exactly how steep the climb is. He spoke of strength of improving individually to grow collectively, but it sounded like a message to himself as much as to his players. It was as if he were saying, "I need to be stronger too." Because the Nuno who once defined Wolverhampton Wanderers, organized, fearless, and sharp, hasn't yet shown up in London. The environment is different, the dressing room is heavier, and the pressure is relentless. Since taking charge, Nuno has been trying to balance the idea of rebuilding with the urgent demand for results. He knows time is against him, that the fans' patience is thin, and that the board's expectations are brutal. But there's a growing sense that he's still testing, still searching for a formula that can bring reaction without destroying the team's fragile confidence. The trouble is, while he experiments, the team continues to sink. 4 matches, 1 draw, 3 defeats, and little sign of progress. For a coach who built his reputation on discipline and defensive structure, seeing his side fall apart at every level is painful. Inside the dressing room, there's talk of division between the experienced players who've seen crises like this before and look jaded, and the younger ones who don't yet grasp the magnitude of the situation. Nuno's trying to inject energy, urging his men to win their duels and fight for every ball, but words only go so far. The fans, weary of broken promises, now want to see action, sweat, effort, and belief. That's why the upcoming match at Ellen Road has become symbolic. Either the squad embraces Nuno's message, or the project collapses before it's even begun. What's fascinating about Nuno is that despite the growing tension, there's still an aura of calm about him. He speaks softly but thinks deeply. And maybe that's exactly what this chaotic club needs, a steady hand when everything else feels unstable. But calm alone won't save him. He has to be convincing to show there's a plan, a route forward. Because right now West Ham look like a team without direction, and the first step to finding that direction must come from the man on the touchline. When he said that nobody's going to sleep tonight, it wasn't only a line of frustration. It was empathy too. He wasn't speaking as a distant boss, but as someone who feels the pain alongside his players. That kind of leadership can inspire, but only if the dressing room responds. The question is whether they will. If they do, that 6-word verdict might be remembered as the spark of a turnaround. If they don't, it could mark the beginning of another short-lived era. Everything now depends on how West Ham respond in Leeds. Before we carry on, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. This is really important because it strengthens the claret and blue family, making our West Ham bigger and stronger every day. In recent years, West Ham have become a case study in how a club can lose itself between ambition and identity. Winning the Europa Conference League should have been a turning point, a foundation to build on. Instead, it triggered another wave of instability. Rather than consolidating a project, the club plunged into another cycle of change, always chasing something new, something better, without ever deciding what it truly wants to be. Each manager has arrived with a different idea, but none have been given the time to make it work. The result is a patchwork squad, a restless fan base, and a team that no longer knows its own character. NUNO ESPÍRITO SANTO'S has stepped into this chaos as the 4th manager in barely over a year. 4th, each of his predecessors represented a completely different footballing philosophy. David Moyes was pragmatic, tough, and results-driven. He gave the club stability, even brought a European trophy. Yet when the mood turned towards more attacking football, he was pushed aside. Julen Lopetegui followed with his possession-based approach, but didn't last long enough to make an impact. Then came Graham Potter, analytical and structured, who also failed to gain momentum before being dismissed. And now Nuno, the man of intensity, transitions, and physical commitment, inherits a group built for everything but that. It's a classic identity crisis. West Ham have always been a club of emotion and connection, rooted in working-class passion and spirit. That's what made them special. But in the gleaming London stadium, that sense of belonging has faded. The venue may be modern, but it feels sterile, detached from the soul of the East End. When fans look at the pitch and see players going through the motions, patience runs out fast. That's why Nuno's challenge isn't just tactical, it's emotional. He has to reignite that connection. He must make the crowd believe the team still fights for them. This is the hardest part of modern football, reconnecting the pitch to the stands. When Nuno talks about improving individually to grow as a team, what he really means is restoring dignity, showing that West Ham can still compete even in adversity. And maybe that's his real mission, not to revolutionize tactics, but to bring back purpose. Supporters don't necessarily demand beautiful football. They crave effort, pride, and unity. That's what's been missing most. There's another side to this story too. Nuno himself. He knows this might be one of his last chances to re-establish his name in the Premier League. After a successful spell with Wolverhampton and a difficult one at Tottenham, this return to England is a gamble. If he succeeds, he becomes the man who revived a fallen giant. If he fails, he risks being remembered as yet another name in West Ham's list of short-term fixes. That awareness adds extra pressure to every decision he makes. When he says, "Nobody's going to sleep tonight," it's not just about the players. It's about him, too. He feels the full weight of the moment. The reaction must come quickly. The upcoming match against Leeds isn't just another fixture, it's a character test. Leeds will play with energy and belief, while West Ham arrive anxious and wounded. One team seeks growth, the other survival. That mentality gap is crucial. West Ham must shift from victimhood to defiance. They must play with pride and controlled anger. It's not about style now, it's about fight. And that transformation starts behind closed doors, in conversations between teammates, in rediscovering accountability. There are reasons for cautious optimism. The squad has talent: Jared Bowen, Lucas Paqueta, James Ward-Prowse, all capable of changing games. What's missing is confidence and cohesion. That's Nuno's job, to block out the noise, calm the panic, and rebuild the basics. English football is ruthless but full of redemption stories. West Ham have written some before. They could do it again, but only if they finally learn from their mistakes. Ultimately, it was a difficult evening for us isn't just about Brentford. It's about an entire process that demands honesty and reflection. It's an admission that things are broken, but also a promise to rebuild. If Nuno can turn those 6 words from despair into motivation, West Ham might yet find its spirit again, its identity, strength, and pride. If not, those words will echo as the epitaph of another failed chapter. And once again, the same question will hang over East London. What does West Ham really want to be? And that's all for today's West Ham news. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with fellow fans, and of course subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Come on, you Irons!